Hey, welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to read the module 5.03, which covers Cubism. In the years preceding World War I, two painters living in Paris pioneered a radically new art style called Cubism. Georges Braque and Pablo Picasso looked for basic forms within their subjects, then fractured and reassembled these forms to create a new way of looking at the world. Abandoning traditional concepts of perspective and detail, Braque and Picasso reduced objects to simple geometric shapes and displayed them from all angles at once. So they looked at everything like it was shapes. That's how and if you look at this painting right here, you can see that. So they broke it down to everything looked like shapes. In earlier times, European artists had relied on the Catholic Church, the aristocracy, or the wealthy merchant class for financial support. So, artists in the earlier times needed somebody to basically bankroll them so that they could continue to be artists. And typically that was the church or wealthy people. So, under the commission system, painters and sculptors had, in most cases, sold their works before they had even begun them. By the 1900s, however, that practice had almost entirely disappeared. Artists rarely received money up front. Instead, they labored on their own, then hoped to interest an art dealer in the completed piece. So originally, they would sell their artworks before they even started, and then in the 1900s, they had to sell them after they finished. So they would make works of art and they would hope somebody would buy them. Art dealers acted as middlemen, either by purchasing works from artists to resell at a profit or by exhibiting them for a contingency fee in their gallery until a buyer stepped forward. In the early 20th century Paris, the center of the art world, no dealer was more influential than Ambroise Vollard. A shrewd judge of talent and artistic trends, he gave many modern artists, including Paul Cézanne, Henri Matisse, and their first photo exhibitions. French sculptor, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, declared, "It's thanks to Vollard that I'm able to live." In return, Vollard earned a sizable fortune by selling their works to affluent collectors. So later on in the century, they started having art dealers, and art dealers would buy it from them cheap, and then they'd resell it for more money. Or they would put up exhibits for rich people to come look. One artist supported by Vollard was Pablo Picasso, who would become one of the giants in 20th century art. Picasso and his friend Georges Braque developed a new way of depicting three-dimensional objects on flat canvases called Cubism. Styles of art rarely come into being overnight. They usually evolve from several important sources. So it was with Cubism, which owes a great deal to French post-impressionist Paul Cézanne. Cézanne's work was the catalyst for a major change in the way that artists represented subjects on a canvas. Explore Cubism and Cézanne activity on the next screen to learn more about Cézanne's influence. So you can kind of look and see, here's Cubism and here's how they were seeing things all in squares and shapes. And you can see that Cézanne, if you look closely, it looks like it's breaking down into shapes. And you can click through all of these. Georges Braque was born in 1882 in France, a small town on the river near Paris. His family owned a prosperous house painting business, and his father and grandfather were amateur artists. Braque's family moved to Le Havre when he was 8. While in his teens, Braque enrolled at the Havre Academy of Fine Arts. During a year's apprenticeship as a house painter and an interior decorator, he gained skills as an artisan, including painting decorative wood grain finishes. After serving in the military for a year, Braque decided to become an artist. His early paintings show influence from the work of the Impressionists and the brilliant color of the Fauve, which we just studied. At the 1907 Salon des Indépendants in Paris, Braque exhibited paintings in the Fauvist style to a warm critical reception, but he was already moving in another direction, towards Paul Cézanne's more abstract and distorted geometric shapes. Later that same year, Braque was exposed to the work of a young Spanish painter who had recently achieved prominence in Paris art circles. In a painting by Pablo Picasso that seemed to break almost every rule, 5 nudes stare from a canvas, their angular bodies broken into fragments and stuck back together. Even though the painting was shocking to Braque, he appreciated the power of its imagery and the way Picasso showed his subjects from several different vantage points at once. So this basically says that Braque really appreciated Pablo Picasso's new Cubism style, where he was breaking things up into shapes. Pablo Picasso was born in 1881 in Malaga, a small town in southern Spain. His father was an artist and a drawing teacher. When Pablo was 7 years old, he began to paint. By the time he was 10, he had entered into a school of fine arts, where his family lived at that time. Picasso progressed at a rapid pace and soon became frustrated with following the rules and traditions taught to him in art school. In 1904, he moved to Paris, where he learned French and quickly acquired a whole group of influential art dealers and collectors. Picasso spent the rest of his life in France and died there in 1973 at the age of 91. Braque and Picasso met in 1907 and became friends. They were both interested in exploring new ways of handling three-dimensional forms and the relationships of objects in space. The two painters decided to collaborate and work together closely from 1908 until 1914, when Braque left to fight in World War I. At times during this period, their paintings were so similar that they were difficult to tell apart. Braque once commented, "We were like two mountain climbers roped together." In 1909, Braque and Picasso exhibited landscapes in which the scenes were reduced to the shapes of cubes. The name Cubism came to be used for the style in which subjects were rendered in a variety of geometric shapes. Explore the characteristics of Cubism activity on the next screen to learn more about that movement. So you can click through these pictures and you can see all these Cubism paintings and how they developed. In 1901, when Picasso was 19, Ambroise Vollard gave the painter his first exhibition. So he gave him his first art show when he was 19 years old. This very famous art dealer gave Picasso his first art show when he was 19. Vollard purchased a number of Picasso's works, but Vollard was cautious about offering a contract to represent Picasso in the sale of his works to collectors, something that most artists wanted. Picasso painted this portrait of Vollard right here in 1909 to pique his interest. Picasso studied the determined set of Vollard's mouth and jaw, his heavy eyelids, and his dark beard. Then Picasso methodically broke those features into a set of geometric facets that come together at different angles. Picasso left out details that could distract from the painting's multiple perspectives. He used neutral surrounding colors to accentuate Vollard's bald head and his formidable brow. His face seems to emerge eerily, as if from shards of glass. Analytical cubism is a stage in cubism where the artist analyzes a subject, then disassembles and reassembles it into a series of fragmented geometric shapes that intersect, leaving behind any semblance of the cubes of his early work with Braque that gave the movement its name. Picasso focuses on creating a flattened space in portrait of Ambroise Vollard using Cézanne's passage technique. Picasso left some edges of a shape intact while eliminating others. One shape merges with the next. The technique creates the effect of carefully knit together, shallow space composition. Although the shapes that make up the figure are all still recognizable, Picasso fractured the figure so that it fuses with the background. Using neutral colors for the figure and background further unites the composition. Analytical cubism is the most intellectual of cubism stages. Explore analytical cubism activity on the next screen to examine its characteristics in Portrait of Ambrose Vollard. So on the next screen, this will explain this even better. But he basically would look at this guy, Ambrose Vollard, and as he looked at him, he tried to break up his face into all kinds of different shapes. And then once he broke his face up into those shapes, that's when he would start putting it onto his work of art. And that's what analytical cubism is. And you can click through all of these pictures. In still life Le Jour, painted in 1829, Braque assembled a jumble of objects: a guitar, pipe, picture, water glass, apples, and knife on a table. Then he played with the perspective, showing several views of the objects at once. The viewer sees a side view of the pitcher and water glass and looks inside them too. Brock broke the guitar apart and reassembled it, highlighting the contour in black. There we go. The open drawer serves as a reminder of the two-dimensional surface. The knife, though angled downward, right there, doesn't fall in. Black and white contour lines emphasize simple shapes. A French newspaper, Le Jour, which means the day, has been slashed into two pieces right here. Braque used greens, blacks, and browns in the background, right there, to enhance the simple forms of objects in the painting. He painted the table surface in simulated wood grain, see how it looks like wood right there, and added decorative wallpaper pattern in the background, elements that reflect his early training in interior decoration. Explore views and life le jour activity to learn more about the objects in this still life. In the next major stage in Cubism, called synthetic Cubism, Picasso and Braque depict forms in a more recognizable way, although parts of their composition are still quite abstract. Rather than paint every object as flattened space, they added shading to some objects to suggest form. They used brighter colors and added patterning and textures to the shapes. The textures could be simulated by using paint and brush, or it could be pieces of newspaper, advertisements, wallpaper, sand, or cloth glued directly to the composition. By combining the arts of painting and glued papers, the Cubist created the first fine art collages. Explore still life le jour activity to examine the painting more closely. So in this next stage called synthetic cubism, they started using more than just paint on their paintings. They started using paper, wallpaper, sand, glue, all kinds of stuff to make them more like collages. Ease, painted by William Hurnett in 1887, is a very different kind of still life from Braque's. Ease was commissioned by a wealthy businessman to display objects that reflected his education and status. Leather-bound books, musical instruments, a Persian carpet, a newspaper, and envelopes propped in the center are emblems of his successful business ventures. Arnett used accurate details, perspective, and lifelike modeling of shapes in his still life. It was important to paint each object so that it could be easily recognized by the viewer. Exploring contrast still lifes activity on the next screen to view differences between Arnett's representational still life and Braque's synthetic cubist still life. Which painting do you find more interesting, or more beautiful, or more difficult to create, and why? So this artist used a more traditional approach in his still life, is what they're trying to say. And you can go through this activity and compare the two.